All right, welcome back to the Culinary 170. We are costing out the spinach and artichoke dip, and we've already costed out the onions and the clarified butter because I'm specifically focusing on fabrication in this batch of videos. So I wanted to talk now about this minced or this chopped garlic here with 2 teaspoons. I cleared out the other two ingredients so they're not too distracting. You kind of see everything that's going on with this garlic. Because it's kind of a trickier one. There's a couple ways that you can approach this problem. So I'll show you both ways. I'll do one and then I'll do the other one, and we'll see how the prices vary. So with garlic chopped, you can either buy it as fresh garlic and chop it yourself, or you can buy it as already chopped garlic in a jar. So I'm going to start with the fresh garlic. So if I'm going to buy fresh garlic, I got to find the APC bulk price. And when I'm looking up here, I see in front of me a price of $19.40 for a 5-pound bag of fresh garlic. So there you go. So if I wanted to try to find out a APC unit price, I'm going to have to break that down to at least per pound. So I'll take the 1940 and I'm going to divide it by 5. So $19 divided by $19.40 divided by 5 is going to give me the price per pound. So that'll be $3.88 per pound. Now, for 2 teaspoons, a pound, that 2 teaspoons is not going to be anywhere near a pound of garlic. So I'd be better off to take that $3.88 and divide it by 16 to find out the price per ounce instead. So I take the 388 and divide by 16, and that gives me a little over 24 cents. So $24.25 per ounce. And that's as far down as I'm going to take the APC here. I'm not going to go any lower than per ounce in this situation. 0.2425 per ounce. Now, a lot of people ask me, why don't I take it down to a teaspoon? Why don't I just leave it as an ounce? The reason being is that these gray columns represent what the distributor is telling you, the prices you're getting from either your grocery store or somebody like Cisco or PFG or whatnot. And those prices can fluctuate based on market prices or availability, especially if it's a seasonal item. So what I find is if you put too much math in this column right here with the APC unit, as soon as your distributor changes your cost by just a little bit, you got to do all that math all over again. You're better off to hold off and do most of your math in the revised column instead. Because if you do that, any math you do here will not be affected by the whims of your distributor. So if I just keep the APC unit math operations real simple and just do divisions, divide by 5, divide by 16, I won't have to do too much extra work in case the distributor does change our cost. That being said, when I think about this revised quantity, remember this is the point where I'm thinking, okay, do my units here match my units over here? I've got ounces and I've got teaspoons. Not so much of a match there. So what I have to do is I have to find out how much does a teaspoon of garlic weigh. Because if I can find out how much a teaspoon of garlic weighs, then all I got to do is just double it and I'm there. I'm good as gold. So I do a little bit of research here, and I find that I can't really see a weight for garlic in teaspoons. But I can find, let's see, I can find a weight for a cup of garlic. I looked in that book of Yields by Lynch that I was telling you about in one of the previous videos, and it tells me that a cup of garlic, so 1 cup of garlic weighs 4.8 ounces. And you don't have to look this up. If you've got some garlic handy and a kitchen scale at home, you could get some garlic, cut it up, and weigh it out that way. Just having a resource like a book of yields or something is really helpful, because then you can just go in there and you can just look it up without actually having to do the work. And they give you averages, so it's a really helpful tool. So some people will be below, some people will be above, some people will be right at average, so it's helpful. Notice that this cup does not weigh 8 ounces. Garlic doesn't flow like water the last time I checked. So you can't assume that a cup of garlic is going to weigh 8 ounces. Sure, it's 8 fluid ounces. It's kind of weird when you think of garlic that way, but that's what it is. But as far as a weight goes, it's somewhere around 4.8 ounces. So what I can do is if I want to know what the weight of a teaspoon is, you just got to remember that 1 cup is about 48 teaspoons. Well, I don't know why I'm saying about. It's exactly 48 teaspoons. That's just a volume conversion there. Because we know a cup has 16 tablespoons, and each tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. So when we do 16 times 3, we get the 48 teaspoons. So what happens here is we find out that that cup of garlic weighs 4.8 ounces, and that 4.8 ounces is 48 teaspoons. So to find out how much just 1 teaspoon weighs, all we have to do is take the 4.8 ounces and divide by the 48. And that'll tell me ounces per teaspoon. And that's exactly what I wanted. So if I take 4.8 and divide by 48, I get 0.1. 0.1 ounces per teaspoon. And this is just for garlic. It's not sugar, it's not salt, it's not flour, it's not artichoke hearts, whatever. It's just for garlic. So if I've got 2 of these teaspoons, well, it's just going to be 0.2. And that's going to be in ounces. And there you go. There's a revised quantity for the garlic. Seemed a little intimidating, but a lot of times the hardest part about it is just finding the right information, finding out how much does a tablespoon of garlic weigh, or in this case we had to find out how much a cup weighed instead. But a little bit of legwork, or if you want actually some physical labor, you can actually do it. So now we get to the yield percentage. I want 0.2 of an ounce of garlic. The problem is if I just go in the back room and get 0.2 of an ounce of garlic and then chop it up, I'm not going to get what I want. So we need to look at the yield percentage. And from the same resource, I find that garlic is about, is about 88.1% yield. So to find out my as-purchased quantity, I'm just going to take this 0.2 and divide by that percentage. So 0.2 ounces divided by 88.1%. Keeping in mind, you should probably go ahead and convert that into a decimal instead by moving it over twice. And then when I do the 0.2 divided by 0.881, I get 0.227015. So 0.2270. And some of you might be like, that's kind of on the low side, is that right? Well, let me jot this down for a sec, and let's compare. 0.227 ounces. One easy way to check yourself is that the APQ should always be at least equal to, if not larger than, the revised quantity. Because the APQ is what you have to go get, and then through the fabrication, you'll get this 0.2 ounces. And if you look at it, 0.227 is a little bit bigger than 0.2, so there you go. It works. So to find our total cost, all we're going to have to do is take this 0.227 and multiply it by the 0.2425, the price, the APQ times the APC. And when we do that, we get 0.0550, pretty much, or 6 cents. And there you go. There's one way to cost out your garlic. Now, that's assuming that I got fresh garlic. But what about if I wanted to get the garlic that's already been chopped for me? And so I don't want to, maybe I want to hold off on that work. I don't want to do that. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jot down that 6 cents that we had down here. So we had it as 0.064, the fresh garlic. And we can compare the price. So from the same resource that I got the fresh garlic, if I dig a little bit, I can find that garlic that's already chopped for me, that comes in a tube according to this purchasing form, that is going to be, oh, I'm sorry, it's in a tub. It's in a tub. I thought it said tube. I misread. It's going to be $14.83 for a 5-pound tub. So same idea as before. I'm going to have to divide by 5 and then divide by 16. So when I do my 1483 divided by 5, that's going to give me $2.966 per pound. And then when I divide this by 16 to get per ounce, I get $0.1854 per ounce. So there you go. We're going to have 0.1854 per ounce. Now, some of you might be looking at that and saying, well, hang on a second. I can already tell if this is going to be cheaper than the fresh garlic. So, that's kind of an interesting thing to note. Let's see if it kind of ends up that way the same all the way through. So, now I need to talk about the revised quantity again. And just like before, when I consider this ounces, keep doing that, I'm sorry about that. When I consider this ounces versus this teaspoons, something is going to have to change. I'm going to have to modify something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to find out how much does 1 teaspoon weigh, just like before, and then I'm going to have to just double the answer. Now, there is a slight difference between this garlic and the previous garlic. The fresh garlic was literally that, a fresh head of garlic. I pulled off a clove, chopped it up, and I'm good to go. However, with the garlic that's in the tub, it's not just garlic. You actually have the garlic in the oil. So what ends up happening is I can't use that 4.8 ounces per cup that I originally had. Remember when we had 4.8 ounces equals 1 cup of garlic? I can't use that this time because that's for fresh garlic. So I dig a little bit and look, and I find that garlic that's chopped in its own oil is actually going to be 9.2 ounces per cup. Substantially heavier than the fresh garlic. Next time you have both the fresh garlic and the garlic out of the tub, check and look. You'll find that it's actually true. The stuff that's already chopped for you is a lot heavier than the fresh stuff. So what ends up happening here is when we do our conversions, we still have 48 teaspoons per cup. So we're still going to do the 9.2 ounces and divide it by 48 because there's 48 teaspoons in that cup. And when I do that division, I end up with each teaspoon being 0.1917 ounces per teaspoon. And since I've got 2 of those, if I just double it, I'm going to end up with 0.3833 ounces of chopped garlic. Now, if you recall, when we had the fresh garlic, it was only a 0.2 of an ounce, 0.2. So what's happened here is even though we're using a cheaper product per ounce, we're having to use more of it because the original one was only 0.2. Now, something that is nice about using the chopped garlic already is there's no fabrication involved. So the yield percentage turns into 100%. Therefore, our APQ is the exact same APQ as we had, 0.3833 ounces. Nothing changes there. And when we do the cost, I'm going to take this 0.3833 and times it by the 0.1854. So when I take 0.3833 and times by 0.1854, I end up with a price for my garlic of 0.0711 or 8 cents instead. So look at that. Even though it was cheaper per ounce for us to get the jar garlic, the stuff that was in the tub already chopped for us, it ends up costing us an extra 2 cents for 2 tablespoons to use it because it's so much heavier. And that's something that you need to think about is that convenience worth it to you? Because even though you're getting it in the jar, in the long run, it's going to cost you more. So definitely something I want you to think about. I know there's